All right, we are here with the legend, the man, the myth, Phil Jones. And I think I'm trying to get Instagram going on here, and I think it's causing problems. So hold on one second. I apologize. It's a
That's
new
okay.
feature, and I don't have all the bugs worked out.
That's okay. But it's just nice to be able to talk to you, Gene, and spend a little time talking to some of your fans and your members of Audioholics. So it's been a while. I haven't
Yeah,
talked to you since Cedia.
it is. It has been a while. I just turned off Instagram, by the way, because it's on my computer and I can't mute the audio. So I'm sorry about that, Instagram
Hmm.
friends.
Hmm.
We are on YouTube Live right now. We're going to be talking about upgrades to Denon and Marantz. We have the article up on the Audioholics website about the Dirac Live Bass Control and HEOS updates. But I wanted to talk to you in more detail about this because there's a lot of information that maybe is not in that release.
Hmm.
And you guys know we like to go deep into this stuff. So what I'm going to do now is I got a lot of questions here as well. We're
I,
going to go
I
through.
can see. I'm actually looking at the chat right over here, and they're coming fast and heavy.
They are. Yep, they are. And we got a super chat from Karen Molinaris. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. So, Phil,
Hmm.
the first thing I think we should do before we get into the upgrades, I want to clear the air on something. And I have you on, I'm putting you on the spot. I'm going to share my screen. There
Hmm.
was some thread on AVS forum and it trickled over to my forum about some guy or a group of people saying that the AV10 doesn't have an analog bypass.
Hmm.
And of course it does because I measured it and I'm showing you right here. It's a straight line from 10 hertz to 80 kilohertz, the
Hmm.
limitation of my test gear.
Hmm.
You don't get that kind of measurement without an analog bypass unless you have a really high sampling rate on the ADD converter, which most consumer products don't have. So I want you to officially say that this has a true analog bypass because your tech support people were saying no in automated responses to
Well,
people.
the tech support people have been corrected. Yes, it
Okay.
has a pure analog um, throughput. So whenever you put one of the receivers into pure direct, it
Yep.
sends it straight through. So if you have an analog turntable and you just want to connect your phonograph to your speakers, it's not going to convert it to digital or do anything else. So long as it's set to pure direct, it passes through whether it's RCAs or if you have something like an AV10 XLRs.
And this is not just on the AV10. This is on multiple products. This is
This is
on
on
the
multiple products. If you have the option for pure direct, that's what that means.
Okay. Well, I'm glad we cleared the air on that. So why don't we talk a little bit about Dirac Live Bass Control? What is Dirac Live Bass Control and why do people want it?
Okay, so let's talk. Last year on our newer models via a firmware update, we added Dirac Live. But Dirac Live basically treats the whole system as a full range. It doesn't really address the bass, right?
Mhm.
So this new firmware update, which is Dirac Live Bass Control, of course, it's another fee on top of, you have to have at least Dirac, a regular Dirac Live license, either full bandwidth or limited bandwidth. And then you would purchase the license above that, which has for single sub and multiple sub. When you do that, then it actually does things such as low pass filters, high pass filters, and all of the treatment that Dirac can do to optimize your subwoofers. Now, it's way beyond my thing, but all of the stuff that Dirac does great is applied to your subs independently. I will tell you this too: if you have a regular Dirac Live license, we have actually added bass management to all of those people who have the Dirac Live license. Originally, if you had Dirac Live, you had to determine whether your speakers, what the crossover points are for your speakers. And oh, by the way, we used to call speakers large or small. Gene and I were
Mhm.
talking about this. Now we call them full range and limited. Why? Because people see speakers that are like 7 feet, like they're 6 foot tall speakers, and they say, "What do you mean my speaker is small? It's bigger than I am." But we're
Yep.
talking about, can it play down to 20 hertz effectively? If it
Yep.
can't, it's the old system would recognize it. Our system would recognize it as small. So now we're saying either it's full range, 20 to 20, or it's limited to a certain frequency, 30, 40, 50. Originally with Dirac Live, you had to do that adjustment manually. Now with Dirac Live, all doing after this firmware update, if you have regular Dirac Live, it will set your crossover points for you. So like Audyssey does, because Audyssey does that. It tests all the speakers,
Yep.
determines what their ranges are, and it sets the crossover points for you, because what's on paper may not be what you get in your room. And this is actually a better way to set crossovers.
Yeah, and just to clear the air, the majority of people that are setting up these systems are going to use bass management, even if they have towers. Unless you have towers that are like this, with 4 12s in each tower, your subwoofers are probably more efficient at producing bass below 30 or 40 hertz than the tower is. Now, in my situation with the Marantz AV10 and AMP10, I have this system in my family room with the Pearlescent S7Ts. This is at the limit of where I would consider a speaker truly full range, because it does have really good output down to like 20 hertz. And the beautiful thing about it is I ran Audyssey Multi-Q X PC, and look at the integration I was able to get in my room. This is at the main listening position, and that's with both subs playing left versus right speaker. Audyssey PC is gone a long way. Like it's light years better than it used to be. I got incredible integration, and I'm routing LFE to my main speakers, so I increased the modal density in the room, because it's a big open room and I needed more subs and I couldn't put more subs. So my speakers are kind of acting as a pseudo sub. But now when we deal with Dirac Live Bass Control, and nobody talks about this is why I wanted to have you on, because you can't get this information anywhere else. Dirac Live Bass Control automatically puts a high-pass filter on the mains regardless of size, and there's a reason why they do that. And I wanted you to briefly talk a little bit about how that differs from Audyssey and what their reasoning was why they have a high-pass. And this is not just for your product. This is for any product that implements Dirac Live Bass Control, as far as I know.
Yeah, so the I talked to Dirac, and they basically said that based on how they blend the subwoofers into the system, in order for them to optimize what they're trying to achieve, they have to apply a high pass filter. For 99.99% of customers out there, it's perfectly fine. Having your subs take over and do 35 or 40 hertz down for most customers is normally beneficial. But that is just how this system works. In the future, if you get something like we talked about active room treatment, ART, then that allows you to run your speakers as full range, because by using all four speakers, they used every speaker's full capabilities to cancel out peaks and nulls and issues that you would have. So ART will do that, but the DSP processors and the receivers in most receivers, and how that algorithm is ran via Dirac, they believe that the best performance you're going to get is if they apply high pass and let them use bass control to correct the bass in your room, whether you have 1, 2, 3, or 4 subs.
Yeah, and you could lower those sliders on the mains if you want them to play more bass, but just realize you won't get overlapping bass with your subs at that point for 2-channel music. So it's really a trade-off. I personally would always recommend all your subs playing 80 hertz and below, so you take advantage of the multi-sub. So you might have to sacrifice in some instances, if you're running Dirac Live Bass Control, that you're gonna filter off some of the bass on your mains. But if you've got great subs, like I said, it's not that big of a deal. But if you're like me and you always want everything playing bass for now until we get Dirac ART, Audyssey Multi-Q PC, you guys have both. I mean, you're the only brands that have both.
Yeah, I like to say when it comes to room compensation, we are room compensation agnostic. There's benefits to both systems. So for example, what you were just talking about, Gene, where with Audyssey, you could run your main speakers full range. You can route LFE from your subs to your main, so they can actually help with the bass in the room. There's so each company has their own strengths and weaknesses, and we wanted to be able to provide users with both options. People always ask us, well, why didn't you put them both in for free? Well, the best way to explain is each time we put one of these things in, we have to pay for a license, right? So we're already paying for a license for Audyssey, and we chose that because if you don't want to do all this stuff, the Audyssey plug it in, follow the instructions, and it sounds pretty darn good, right?
Mhm.
And between the app and the software, you have a lot of power there. But then say your receiver is 4 stories down and you need to plug your microphone into your laptop, or you like the impulse adjustment that Dirac offers, or
Yeah.
you're just comfortable with Dirac and you just like the way it works better. You also have the option to upgrade. So the analogy I use is you can have a steak dinner or you can have a lobster dinner. We're
What about,
covering either the
or
steak
both?
or the
Hmm.
lobster. If
Yeah.
you want the surf and turf, you're going to have to pay a little bit for that,
Yeah.
because if we made everybody pay for the surf and turf, it would raise the price of every single AVR, because we'd have to pay for that license on every AVR, whether you're going to use it or not.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. So it's great that you have the option for both, and you could save each on 2 different speaker presets,
Mhm.
and you could do a comparison to see which one you prefer. Right now, I'm rolling with Audyssey PC because I got really good calibration results, but I'm going to go and test out the Dirac Live Bass Control soon, hopefully early next year,
Mhm.
and then do that comparison again and do a video on it. Now, here's the common question I'm seeing a lot on our forum and everywhere is, when is Dirac ART coming to the
Oh,
AV10 and the A1H from Denon,
well,
or any of your products that have 4 sub outs? Because you have 4 sub outs for a
yeah,
reason.
exactly, for a reason. So I will tell you that we are, when it comes to the engineers, they are cautious as they roll products and technologies out, because if it doesn't work 100% of the time, it doesn't work right. Everybody on this call is going to be on the forums going off about why doesn't it work properly. So the first thing was, let's make sure that Dirac Live functions properly and it does what it's supposed to do. The next thing is, let's add bass control. And we just added that. If you look, we do major updates a couple of times throughout the year. And this is a major update that added not only Dirac bass control, but also improvements to HEOS and a bunch of other things. So as we go through and they verify functionality through all of the AVRs, things eventually become part of these updates. So I can't tell you when art is coming, because I like my job, but I will tell you that they are committed to continuing to improve the performance of the AVRs, and this is something that has been requested, and it will arrive. But
So let me put you on the spot about one thing, though,
Mhm,
because there's people on the fence about buying an AV10 versus buying a competitive product
mhm,
because of the art thing.
mhm.
They're thinking, is there going to be a hardware update, or does the hardware currently, is it able to support art when the software is ready for it? You don't have to do a hardware upgrade because it's got 4 sub outs already.
Exactly. It's
Independent.
got 4 sub outs already. So it's just once you get the license from Dirac and you do all of the adjustments, can you send that data to the AVR to utilize the 4 subwoofers? The 4 subwoofers are there. We talked Dirac just like we talk Audyssey. And once they verify that the solution works the way that we want it to work, and Dirac is happy, and Masimo consumer is happy, then we will pull the trigger. But that exact date or when that's going to happen, I can't, I don't know. But I will tell you that we are definitely looking at that, and I know that it's definitely on the roadmap.
But it won't require a hardware upgrade, right? Just the software.
It should be just the software.
That's awesome. All right. So I think we've answered pretty much all those questions on Dirac. And guys, if you have any questions about it, you can put it in the comments below and we can come in and answer offline.
Mhm.
The next thing I wanted to talk to you about was the HEOS updates. First of all, why don't you define what HEOS is? How is it different from other music management systems? And
Mhm.
what the latest updates are? And if you have anything you want to show us or
Okay.
illustrate on it.
Okay. So when you look at HEOS, HEOS actually predates most streaming services. When HEOS first came out, there wasn't very many streaming services. People used to have these big Crestron or multi-zone amplified systems where you hardwired your entire house. So if you
Mm,
wanted multi-zone music, it used to be really expensive and only reserved for those high-end model homes and those that had a lot of dough. So HEOS was designed to deliver high-res music across multiple rooms, either wired via a network or wired or wirelessly. And it, like I said, it predates many of the apps. When these things first got started, people were just playing files off of their hard drives and USB drives and stuff like that. As the services started to appear, we started to add services to HEOS. We say that this is the third version of the app's appearance, but there's actually been this firmware, this whole update that adds bass control and this new HEOS functionality is actually codenamed U32. And that is because this is the 32nd version of HEOS. HEOS has been around for about 10 years. This is the 32nd version of HEOS, right? And the reason for that is they constantly continue to work to improve things like stereo synchronization, the ability to sync your surround sound speakers, and all of those things, network stability and stuff like that. And if you look at the latest reviews on the Google Play Store and the Apple Store, it's very good. The reviews have been very, very good over the last 2 years. You know, they're not fives, because if it's a 5, most likely it's a bot. If someone has all 5s, it's a bot. But we're in the high 4s, which really speaks volumes for the functionality. But the layout was dated. When it first came out, it was about, look how many zones I have, and look how many rooms you could do, and look, and then what's playing. That's not what people care about. People want to get to the music. So now we changed the way that the app looks. So this is the new HEOS app. And the best way to think of it as, this is now has a music first mentality, music forward. So when you first hit the home button, the very first thing that comes up is music. The one thing that used to drive me crazy was I'd have all of these different services, but I wouldn't know what I was going to play. I would just see, oh, I have Spotify and Tidal and all this stuff. But it took me a while to get to my music. Now I can get directly to it. And I can do things like I can scroll through and look at other tracks that I've played. I can look at my favorite HEOS stations that I've set up. And now, most people only have one app, one music service. And I can go in here and I can put my top music service front and center. And then I can have the other services below. Now, if this, say, Tidal is not my main music service, if I hit the edit button, I can go in and say, you know what, I want Amazon Music to be my main service. So now when I go back, Amazon Music is now my main service on my device, and I get to see exactly what's on my Amazon Music. So I can go in here and quickly get to my music. So the goal is to make it easier. It gives you recommendations on Tidal stations, the latest Tidal records, stuff to kind of inspire you to find music, right? Of course, the other thing you could do is, we've always talked about, when this thing first came out, the very first thing that you could do was you could maybe play music off of a server. But people would be like, well, how do I do that? Now, if I click here, it normally, actually, it's a little slow. Actually, I'm on the wrong network here. Let me try that one.
So do older products like the SACD30N get the HEOS update too?
The nice thing about this update is the way that we do it. Remember, the HEOS app is just how you make your requests to your system. So this benefit applies to every HEOS enabled pretty much device in existence. So basically, every single HEOS enabled receiver, media player, network player, Denon home speaker, everybody, all of those things now have a better user interface and a better way of operating it, right? So another thing we added is tune-in radio. This is actually free. So if you don't have a bunch of services, it actually looks at what your area is that you're located and brings up popular tune-in radio stations. So you always have music up there. You can make playlists. It's really slick. I mean, you can even go up here to edit and say, I don't care about all of this stuff. All I want is my music services. I can go hide the things that I don't want to see, so I can only focus on the things that I like. The whole goal of this is to give you all of the power of HEOS, but make it easier to operate. So for example, we can now do, I think, 64 different devices, 16 of them playing the same thing double DSD, 192 FLAC files, whatever you want. Like we actually a little later, Gene, maybe next week, we're building a Nautilus room, and we have a pair of Nautiluses being driven off of 4 Class A Delta stereos, and our main source is a HEOS off of through a Marantz network player. And
you're gonna have to fly me up for that. You're gonna have to fly me up there.
It's pretty neat. It's pretty neat. So high quality and everything else. Some of the things about it is if I go to the we added a unified search, which I'm going to really show you right now. And what that unified search is for is, say you have, like me, I have Tidal, Spotify, Amazon Music, Pandora as all my music services. Now we do a lot of geeky audio files, and they want to hear Bob Smith Schmeckman playing at the New York Philharmonic in 1978. Well, that may not be on every streaming service, but I can type that into the search and it'll look across all of my streaming services and then give me a list of all of of where it's available. So before, even if you had multiple, you may like the Spotify app, you may like your Tidal app, you may like your Amazon Music app, but you have to open that app, search, close that app, open a new app, search, close that app, open a new app, search, close. With this, you just type it in and it shows you across all of your music services. And the layout is very similar now to what the other apps look like. So people said, why does your app look like this, but everybody else's apps operate like that? Our apps operate more like that because it's now fitting that kind of new smartphone topography.
So if I want to play an Atmos track through Tidal Music, does HEOS support Atmos, or do I still have to use like an Apple TV or a NVIDIA Shield if I want to support spatial audio music?
That is a very good question. The HEOS board is a stereo board, so it takes the signal and it can output stereo. In order to do HEOS, that HEOS card, which is what we use, that HEOS card is the same card whether you're buying a Denon home or whether you're buying a high-end AVR. That's how we can give you high res on everything, right? That would have to be a multi-channel card. So, so right now, because it is a stereo card, it will not decode Dolby Atmos from those particular services.
Okay. So guys, if you're really into spatial audio like I am, pick yourself up an Apple TV or an NVIDIA Shield. Those are really good platforms to support those formats. Somebody asked if HEOS supports max quality. I think you kind of answered that because you said it's high res now. So I'm going to get the same sound in 2-channel Tidal as a FLAC file or as an MQA that I would whether I used a separate device or HEOS, right?
Exactly, because basically we're just talking ones and zeros here, people. Back in the days, everybody used to use MP3s and stuff because the speed of your phone or the Wi-Fi in your house was super slow, right? My internet went down in my house, and I did a web call or a video thing like this using the hotspot on my phone. My phone was running at 100 megabytes per second. That is enough to support like 5 4K streams. So bit for bit audio is a joke these days for these particular phones, between the size of the processing power of the phone and the bandwidth capabilities. So there's no reason to compress anything, which is why you're starting to see more and more services do above CD quality. In fact, if you go to Amazon Music, you can get versions of like Neil Young at resolutions that are higher than what you could probably buy it, because most of the time it's hard to find that 192, 24 FLAC file. So actually, by the way, here's that search that we talked about. So what I did was I typed in Neil Young, right? And then what it does, it shows me Tidal and Amazon Music, because those are the two right now that I have checked that I want you to search, because I have a filter on. So I can go in here and I could change those filters to what services I want, whether I want to just look at my network drive, do I want to look at tracks, playlists, artists, whatever I want to do. So instead of you having to open and go from app to app to app, it's all just available. It's all just available there, which I think is a really, really neat addition.
Yeah, I don't care how high resolution you make Neil Young. I just can't listen to his music. I'm sorry. I just can't.
Hey man, he's good with the harmonica and everything else. But
Yeah, I guess so. Everybody has different tastes, right?
okay. So actually, I'm looking. Someone on here said unlimited tongue. He said it was very slow and unnatural to use. And you know what? Back in the days, you were right. Remember, our app predated all of their apps, right? We were, by the way, the first one to have the 3 buttons along the bottom, which everybody else copied, by the way. But if you look at the app, there's things about it. Like, for example, every new app has the settings button on the upper left side, right? Every other app now has a swipe down. Every other app has all of these different tiles and and cards and stuff. And that was, so what we did was we said, hey, the old app, the old HEOS app, think of it as if you were a Windows guy, right? And if you use the HEOS app and only the HEOS app, it made perfect sense to you. But then when you went, if you were a Mac person, you would look at it and say, what the heck is this thing doing, right? My other apps do not look like this. My other apps do not operate like this. So what they did was they went back to the drawing board and said, what do modern music apps operate like? And we're going to make sure that ours operates the same way. So the things that you would do, like swipe down to go to home, and all of the things that you think you should be doing on a smartphone, the app now does. So all of those things that people said was unresponsive, it was not intuitive. They did huge surveys across the country and said, what do you like about current apps? Your titles, your Spotify's, your Pandora's, and how can we add that to this app? So before you say you don't like it, download it and try it. That's the best way I can explain.
Yeah, guys, if you've tried the new version of HEOS, please give some comments in the thread below. I'd like to hear your take on it. Now, we got some questions from people about future products for Classe as well as Marantz. This one is particular saying Classe is terrible support. Never understand what's coming for the brand. Is HEOS coming for Classe? What's going on with Classe? We love Classe. So
okay.
please
so
give Classe.
I will tell you that the big thing about HEOS is Classe, we have all of these different groups. Classe is a very, very, very small group. And we're working to integrate the Classe, whether they're customer support, their engineering teams are working with our engineering teams. So the goal is to give you higher level support, because now it's not this small French Canadian company. Now you have the power of this big multinational to help you with those types of things. We are looking at, like I said, HEOS is great. We are looking at adding HEOS to Classe Deltas, so Delta Pres. So there will be some details on that. And so stand by, because we really believe that we can continue to enhance HEOS. By the way, more services coming, more capabilities coming. So everybody's going to say, well, what about this service? And what about that service? And what about this? And what about that? Remember, I mentioned that this is the 32nd update. We have a couple of more coming pretty quickly. So we'll have that conversation later in the year about what about this service and what about that service.
So what about Rune certification? Now that Harman purchased Rune, is that going to be a problem for you guys to get Rune certified on your products?
I don't know, but I will say, when it comes to AVRs, we're the 1,000-pound gorilla. We have the gigantic amount of market share. So it would make sense for anybody, for them to want to make sure that for all customers that we play well with others. We want to play with them, and I'm sure based on our size, they want to play with us. And like I said, HEOS continues to get better and better and better. So stand by.
Awesome. All right. So I got Marantz questions for you. Obviously, the SR8015 was one of my favorite AVRs of its day. It's now about 3 years old, 4 years old. You don't have a flagship level receiver in the Marantz line anymore. I don't consider the Cinema 40 a replacement to the SR8015. So is a Cinema 30? Is a 30 coming? What's going on with that?
I think in the next few months, Gene, we're going to be on calls a lot.
I like that.
That's the best way that I can explain it. I can explain, because I love coming on here and talking to you guys, but I can't tell you what's coming and when it's coming and what and all of that stuff. But I will say that Gene and I and all of us are going to be communicating a lot, because there are some really cool pieces coming this year, especially for those who are into ultra high quality home theater and hi-fi.
Oh, so even like hi-fi 2-channel products? I got one of your competitors right behind me. I got the Yamaha RN 2000A, and that is a beast of a 2-channel receiver. So you guys have to have an answer to that.
Yeah, we have some cool stuff coming. One of the benefits of being part of this Masimo consumer group is the size of the organization. So now you have the power of all of these big audio brands with this mega technology company that does healthcare. And so between the two, you have a lot more resources to build things. For example, I always joke that if you look at a consumer electronics device, if it works 90% of the time, pretty good, right? But you got to remember that Masimo is a healthcare company, and when you're talking healthcare, 90% of the time, it's not good enough. So things like app reliability, stability, performance, all of those things, they have a very high expectation. And that level of engineering thought applied with the passion of our guys means that you're going to get some really, really great products in the next few years.
I mean, there's some speculation that you guys are going to make your own watches. I don't know if you could comment on that or not.
Well, actually, we do have a watch right now. We have one called the W1, and the W1 is a 24-hour monitoring watch. So it's designed to monitor your vitals 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it can update that. It can upload that to a secure network. So you have a record, and if you want to, you can share that record with your loved ones, with your physician. As of a couple of days ago, it finally got its FDA clearance, which means it's basically cleared to be utilized as prescription. So, for example, doc wants to make sure that you're doing okay. You can get the watch. You can go home. So we always say this watch is, if you're looking for smart features and being able to do TikTok on your watch, that's not what this is for. This is for someone who is an athlete or someone that truly wants to monitor 24/7 medical grade monitoring of blood oxygen levels, heart rate, blood rate, all of that stuff for peace of mind. So
does it do sleep study for people with apnea?
I'm not exactly sure. I'm still learning about it. I actually have one. So, for example, it measures your hydration. So I let my son wear it every once in a while when he's working out, and it will tell you. You can look and you can see your reference hydration, and when to drink water. And you can drink water until your hydration level
Just
is above average or below average. So it does. Like I said, blood oxygen level, which is really big during COVID. It does hydration and stuff like that. And so yes, we are coming. There's some merging of the two brands. Like, I think, Gene, you had an opportunity to see the Denon Pearls, which is So people are really liking those. It's the first kind of combination of utilizing Masimo AAT technology, which is our basically ability to do kind of measure your hearing and make a kind of a custom EQ curve with Denon sound tuning. So those things have been incredibly popular, by the way, and they sound really
look. The only reason why we just posted our 2023 Product of the Year Award article, and you guys have like 3 or 4 products on there. The only reason why this product wasn't on there is because I didn't finish the review, and I just didn't feel comfortable without a full review and exploration of the product to put that on that article. But watch out 2024, because these things sound amazing. Yes. When you do the custom hearing profile, it's a game changer. It's my favorite in-ear monitor, definitely.
Yeah, and actually, I can tell you another thing. So, say you have a Masimo health device, and normally that health device communicates all of your vitals and your data to a Masimo Health Hub or to your phone, and then that sends it up to the cloud. Well, if you do not have your phone with you, or you do not have a health hub with you, If you have a Denon home speaker, and soon any HEOS enabled product in the room, an AVR, a sound bar, whatever, it'll take the data from that medical device and it will broadcast to the HEOS, and then from HEOS up to the cloud. So that's another example of taking the audio brands and then taking the consumer health brands and merging them together.
Gotcha. You guys have a lot going on. I'm looking forward to 2024 for sure.
Well, there's a couple more things because I got a lot to
Okay.
talk about. We talked about the two big ones about U32, which is Dirac Bass Control, and the ability to have the upgrade to the HEOS application. There's another one, a couple others for Bluetooth retransmission or Blue broadcast for our hi-fi enabled HEOS products. So if you have a HEOS enabled hi-fi piece, now you can do what's called Bluetooth retransmission. So grandpa could have a pair of headphones on and he could be listening to something at a higher volume than you can, which is kind of neat. Or you can play the speakers and the headphones, or just the headphones, or just the speakers. So that was added to several HEOS enabled pieces, especially the ones, think of the ones that have ARC inputs, like Model 40s and things like that. The next thing too is we are the first company to actually have Siri integration on our Denon home speakers. Now you still have to have at least one home Apple hub, a home hub in your house, because but then if you have a Denon home in the room that you're in, you can say, "Hey Siri, do this," and then it will go through and work. So that was something that was added during this update as well. So like I said, we continue to improve stuff whenever we can.
That's awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to the new products coming out next year, and hopefully we get Dirac ART next year. It's not coming now, so you just got Dirac Live Bass Control. I'm just wondering from your own, because I know you like to test stuff. Have you actually tested Dirac Live Bass Control on the AV10 or the A1H in your sound labs yet, or is it on the to-do list?
It is on the to-do list. If you look on if you guys have not subscribed to my little Masimo Consumer Learning, or it used to be called Sound United
training
on YouTube, please do so. We just did, like I did a Audyssey multi-QX step-by-step walkthrough. I did a Dirac Live step-by-step walkthrough. I'm going to ready to do another one after Christmas where one will be from scratch. You haven't bought anything, and you're trying to add Dirac Live and Bass Control. And one will be you already have Dirac Live, and now you want to upgrade from Dirac Live to Dirac Live Bass Control. What are the steps, right? And then once we do that, we'll be able to compare, because like as Gene said, we have he said, please do it before discount. Hey, when does it expire? Let me know. It gives me a deadline. But
you should know. You're the one running the special. If you don't know, we're in trouble.
I can't remember. Believe me, I got so much stuff in my head right now that it's really hard to remember. But we will do that the A/B comparison. I will tell you that, like I said, I've seen the benefits of both.
Yeah.
If you build your own target curve for an Audyssey using multi-QX, you can make it sound absolutely spectacular, right?
Yeah, I mean, look at the comment from Brandon here, basically saying with the auto leveling feature, you can set your own house curve, and that's exactly what I did when I showed you guys. This is at my listening position. That's textbook perfection, pretty much, right? I mean, and that is across all my listening seats too. So, and that's with Audyssey. So I've never been like the person that said you can get Audyssey to be 100% beneficial. There's always some quirk I didn't like about it. But now that you have the PC software and I've got the separate mic calibration kit, it's a game changer. Like the system just sounds so fluid and so dynamic.
Yeah, and I can tell you one way that Bass Control would be kind of beneficial when you compare it to Audyssey. So we set up this room with multi-QX, and we had July. I'll have it done by then, Bill.
January 15th. Yes.
I will commit to having it done by then. Okay. I'll try to get it done before the beginning of I'll try to get it done this week if I can. Awesome.
Oh,
okay.
but
anyway, when I set up the multi-QX and I tested, we found this little funky dip at about, I think it was like 70 or 80 hertz. We could not figure out why. When we ran 1 sub, no problem, 2 subs, no problem, 3 subs, no problem. You at the 4th sub, we had a dip. And of course, by playing with phase and stuff like that, we got rid of it, right? But that took time. With bass control, it just would have fixed it. All right. And so
yeah, because that's the problem is people don't realize you need independent delay of each sub. And if you don't set your subs correctly, and you can't always just do that with frequency response, you need to look at some time domain behavior, which you could do in REW, but
exactly.
Dirac Live Bass Control actually figures that out for you. And
Exactly.
that's
So
a huge advantage.
it took us, an extra half an hour or 45 minutes of experimentation between this woofer and that woofer, and 60 this, and let's flip it 90 degrees, out of phase, and 60 degrees out, all of this stuff versus the other system just would have fixed it.
Yeah. So last question for you. I know I talked about this in the AV10, but I can't remember. You guys have a separate sub transducer output. Now, what I remember in the past products with multi-sub out is it only sends LFE to that output. I can't remember if the AV10 is the same way, or does LFE go to every sub if you enable that? I think it only goes to LFE.
When you do when you opt to use the transducer, it takes one of the sub outs and turns it into a signal to drive a transducer.
Just LFE though. It only sends LFE.
Just LFE. So,
but the other sub outs get LFE too, right?
Yeah. So Stefan, you could have a butt kicker and 2 subs, no problem. So long as the receiver has 4 sub outs, that is a functionality of the receiver.
So funny enough, with the 5805, which was your first product that had 3 sub outs, when you used the transducer option, it only sent LFE to that output, and that like drove me nuts. So that the fact that you guys have updated that now, and you can have LFE going just to that output, but still have LFE going to the other subs, it just shows how you guys keep evolving the products to make it more user friendly. Exactly.
So, like I said, we could spend forever talking about this stuff, but I gotta go. And I will. And Gene, I have a feeling that let's set up one of these every few months, because there's going to be some stuff coming, and then we can just get this little cadence going. And because I see that there's a million questions that we're never going to get a chance to.
You're bringing the house down at almost 9 o'clock at night. There's a lot of people online.
Exactly. And I'm just glad that, like I said, I'm just glad that people are interested in our products and they're passionate about it. And I look forward to spending more time talking to you and your group in the future.
Phil, I always love having you on. This is awesome news that you broke to us. I appreciate you researching all this and questioning Dirac and getting the straight answer. I always like to bring the facts to people. Guys, if you like this video, please hit the thumb up, hit subscribe. Don't forget about our Patreon channel at patreon.com/audioholics. We appreciate your support. You get direct access to me if you want to suggest video topics. Tune in this Friday night at 11 o'clock. We got a bunch of Audioholic staff coming online. We're going to go over the 2023 Product of the Year Award winners, why we chose those products, our experiences with those products. You definitely want to check that out. We're all going to be drinking, so bring your favorite drink to that as well, and we'll talk about that kind of stuff too. It makes the night go a lot more smoothly. Phil, I hope you have a wonderful Christmas and a happy New Year, and we'll be talking real soon.
Yeah, hopefully. Are you going to be at CES? Maybe I'll see you at CES.
I won't be at CES, yeah, unfortunately, but I will be at. I'm not a big Vegas fan. Are you going to the Florida Audio Expo in February?
I'm going to try.
Do or do not. There is no try.
There, nice, Yoda. All right,
guys. Well, until next time, my friends.
Take care, everyone.